My guest this week is someone I had the delight to meet when I first started mentoring with the Prince's Trust. I remember how she walked into the office, so serene and smiling. As we were chatting about her business, she asked if I would like to see some samples. And this, dear listeners, is what I have such a vivid memory of. Anya pulling out the most incredible handbag I have ever seen. It was just extraordinary. Not only that, but endless sketches of her amazing designs. I knew there and then that this lady was talented. Originally from the Bahamas, Anya moved over to the UK, attending university and then working in London. She showcased her debut collection at the library in London and was featured in the Telegraph, Pride UK, and the Caribbean edition of She magazine, going on to be nominated as a Bahamian icon in the field of fashion and design. Drawing inspiration from her birthplace in the Bahamas, the culture, colours, and natural surroundings, she has combined these with a passion for sustainability and slow fashion to create her eco-friendly handbag brand, Wilique. I am delighted that Anya Wilique has joined me today from her home in Turks and Caicos to share with us her entrepreneurial journey so far. Anya, thank you so much and welcome to the With Tracy podcast today.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Tracy. It's such an honor to finally be on the podcast with you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a delight and it's an honor for me to have you on the podcast. So, Anya, before I kind of get into the business questions, I always like to give my listeners kind of a little bit of back history on my guest. So I just wondered if you could just give us an insight into where it all started for you, life and thoughts about business and things like that.
I would say my parents had a huge influence. So both my mom and my dad were entrepreneurs. So I grew up seeing that. And funny enough, my dad had a shoe store. So it kind of trickled down into where life started for me, in Turks and Caicos. So my parents were both there. And then later on, my dad moved me over to the Bahamas, and that's where I got my schooling. So a lot of what I am now doing, especially with sustainable work, started there because they were using a bunch of straw and natural resources. And that's how it kind of got ingrained for me. So life kind of started off for me coming holistically together using my environment.
Because I was going to ask you about how you kind of got your creativity, how you knew you kind of wanted to, take that forward, that you had to be creative in whatever you were going to do.
That's actually, I was going to take the route of just doing straight business. And my dad had said, Anya, because he saw something in me that he knew had to come out. So he was like, take 6 months. I had just finished uni. He's like, take 6 months and develop your craft. Develop, explore, travel, and see what it is that you really want to do. And I think on this side, going into the arts was kind of seen as a hobby and not really a career. So he really pushed me, and I took that leap of and having been in London, I kept drawing back on my childhood experiences growing up in the island. And I think that's where, with the first collection, the Wonderlist, so much of my creativity came from, pulling from that resource.
I mean, that is just so fantastic, isn't it? So what point did you make the decision to come to the UK, and how did you kind of find that when you first arrived?
Okay, so I came for uni. Now, granted, you have to remember, I've never been in the cold. So this was the first time going over to the UK. When I came, I think that was around 2011, 2012. And I came for university, I was getting my degree, and it was a complete culture shock because I moved from a complete island girl on island time to this fast-paced city. And I saw everybody dressed and expressing themselves, and I was just kind of like flabbergasted. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this place. And it just allowed me to, express myself. So I did have a bit of a culture shock. And that's where it kind of the fashion bug hit me, because I was like, oh my gosh. And having so much at my fingertips allowed me to just go for it.
And that's really, that's brilliant. And I then wanted to ask you, at what point did you think, this is what I've got to do? I've got to be creative. I want to set up my own business. And then I just wanted you to tag on to that, because I know, obviously, I mentioned in the introduction that we met through the Prince's Trust. And then what made you take that step to go to the Prince's Trust? So your thoughts, why did you want to set up your business? What inspired you? And then why the Prince's Trust?
Okay, so the first bag that I actually showed, that was basically what was the pivoting point, because I would wear it around town and everybody's like, oh my God, I love this. Like, do you sell this? And I recall, because I was just doing it for fun. I didn't think I would make a business out of it. And my first initial thought was, how is this going to happen? Right? Then here I was sitting on a bus stop. I looked to the side. There's a big sign that says Prince's Trust. So I was like, what is this about? And I researched it and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. And I can remember going in and, getting help with how to set up a business. And they did so much, like how to do a business plan and execute, how to market. And that's where it all started for me. There was an initial fear of, oh my gosh, how is this going to work? Especially getting into the fashion field where it's so competitive. But it just came naturally and things just kind of aligned. And I just remember going to a fashion week and someone was like, hey, I love this bag that you have. Do you want to be in fashion week? And I thought it was a joke. And a couple months later, there I was showcasing.
You were. And I think they obviously felt the same as I did when I first met you at the Prince's Trust. And I also remember, those first meetings we had, and it did seem to me that, were just inspired by you. You meet them and you would come to me a week later or whenever and say, oh, this is happening and this is happening. And
yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Tracy. Literally, I think with you mentoring me, that was the best experience, because you were like my guiding light at that time too. Because I was just like, but what do I do now? And then you'd be like, maybe you should suggest trying this. And then, like you said, I would go away and that was my homework, and I'd research and I'd come back to you. And then you'd be like, okay, this is good.
It really did seem to just take off, didn't it?
Yeah. I can still remember the day I met you, and I was just so nervous because that was my first experience with mentorship, especially establishing a business. And I can remember the name and how you were like, you looked at the paper and you're like, how do you pronounce your middle name? And I used to actually, I think I told you I didn't like it as much. And then you were like, no, you need to use this for your business. And that's where Relief came from.
It was. I just love that name, and I can't actually remember the business name to begin with, the brand name to begin with, but I just remember that, and I just said to you, why don't you go away and think about it? And when I met you a few weeks later, you said, I actually mentioned it to some of my friends and family, and they were all like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. To this day, that's the number one question. Where did you find this name from? Like, how did you come up? And I tell them the exact same story. I said, well, my business was not going to be called Relief. It was going to be called like X, Y, and Z. And it would have been a totally different story. And I love it. And I love how it unfolded so organically.
Yeah, it did. It did. It truly did. So I was going to ask you, you kind of covered off having a mentor really did help you and being part of the Prince's Trust, because, and not so much about me, but I just think it's quite an interesting thing. A lot of people, they are a bit shy about getting a mentor or not sure if they need a mentor. And I just, so your experiences, you felt it was really useful. And have you had other mentors since?
I did. So after it, I think we finished off. I had a mentor, but it was more on the side of technology, like how to use tech to kind of help the business. And but I think for me, the next mentor I had was it was more focused on a little bit of my personal life, on planning and direction. So that start off with you kind of allowed me to see how you build a relationship with a mentor and how that system works. So yeah, there's been 2 mentorships since.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I say to a lot of people that you don't always need one mentor. You might need a mentor for one thing, and you might need a mentor for something else. So, through our lives, there's going to be various people involved that kind of help just guide us or set us in the right direction. So, Anya, you set up your own business. You started creating designs and actually getting them manufactured. I mean, that's a big step. It really is a big step, and I understand that. And I wondered if you'd like to just share some of the challenges. If we just go to the challenges first, what that was like for you, because for a lot of people, it isn't just you have a wonderful design. There is that whole logistical supply chain, isn't there, about getting it manufactured?
Yes. So some of the challenges I faced, especially recently, transitioning from London back home, it was the logistics. Like, how do I now get this here? Because remember, I'm on a little island and everything takes more time. So I had to face, having delays, especially during the last 2 years, with now that we have like a slower supply chain, shipping, getting items lost, and pulling on, okay, what can I do, or what can I use now that I have ready in my design. So my new approach for my new collection is basically, what do I have that is a resource here that I can use, because that was very difficult. I think I had loads of material lost at the time, and it was really tough. So some of the challenges also was kind of, how do I ship it out to my clients internationally, because we have snail mail, but the solution, yeah, we have snail mail. So the solution that I offered was kind of, hey, we have expedited mail. Would you guys be interested in that? And making them more aware and having that communication and building that relationship, to let them know that it can be created. However, this is the timeline that you will receive it. And I think most of my customers really appreciated that. And it's been working so far.
Oh, that's great. That's really great to hear, actually. Because I think, as you say, you're on a small island, which makes it doubly difficult or doubly challenging. I mean, even if you're in Europe, you're still trying to get fabrics or materials and get them made up and get a finished item and getting it to you and shipping it out. So, for any business, I think in manufacturing, that's always something to seriously consider, all those statistics. Would you mind explaining, because I know sustainability is really important to you, and I'm sure even more living where you do. Could you explain, what you're doing for that side of things on the sustainability, but also explain what slow fashion is?
Okay, so slow fashion is using the concept that, you know, everything that's sourced down from the wage, down to labor, down to materials, it all comes full circle. Say, for example, you know that in most factories there aren't fair wages. People are overworked, and we try to have less of a carbon footprint, a heavy carbon footprint, with being more sustainable. So slow fashion actually focuses more on the quality, the expansion of the lifespan of the product, and making sure that it's fit for purpose in each stitch and each design made. So it's something that would be passed down or can be an heirloom. And you know that with slow fashion, that you don't have that guilt of feeling, okay, was this person paid a fair wage? Was their working conditions okay? How was the environment impacted compared to fast fashion? So that's the gist of slow fashion. So most recently you asked about what am I doing on this side for sustainability, right?
Yeah.
So there's a great project. I really like talking about it. Every time I talk about it, I get happy. And it's called Kite Life. So I actually met with one of the marine biologists today. So they called me, it was like, Anya, we have some, because we're doing dredging in the marina, we have some material that was left over and no one collected it. They went out in the boats, they got it. It was super waterproof, and they were like, we want you to make this into something that can be sold to help our NGO. And I was like, I'm all for it. And what I'm going to be starting next week is actually rehabilitation with prisoners. So I'm teaching them a skill. So when they come out, they are able to, have a skill, function better in society. And most times they're kind of outcasted. So it's helping them to rehabilitate into society. So with those bags, they're actually paid a fair wage, and the proceeds from that then go on to helping with conservation and education for our natural resources, such as the reef, and also for the kids to be educated on our ecosystem. So that in itself really makes me happy that I can take what I'm doing in fashion and kind of integrate that, so people can say, oh my gosh, I'm wearing this that was once made from a kite, or that was made from a material that would have been stuck in the ocean that would have caused a lot of damage. This is what has been reused, and instead of it going to the landfill, it has a purpose and it has an expansion on its life. So yeah, that's the project. So the project is called Kite Life. So yeah, we've been saving, so there's, for our water sports, there's kiteboarding. I don't know if you ever heard of kiteboarding.
Yeah.
So a lot of a really difficult, it's really difficult to repair it. So what we started doing was taking the old kites and repurposing it into bags and letting the kiteboarders know, hey, this is what this is for. And they also get a sample so they can tell their story, and it's renamed after them. And yeah, we are taking items that would have been going to landfill. Tourism actually has a heavy carbon footprint as well. So we're saying, hey, all those inflatables that you guys have, we're going to take that, which is often left, and we're going to make it into purpose, and we're helping to beautify the island.
That is an incredible thing. And I just love, Anya, that is helping in so many ways. It's giving the prisoners something to do, and it gives them a skill, and it gives them some sort of credibility. It's helping the environment, it's helping the children. Oh my God, that is brilliant. And you create something from that.
Yes. So yeah, it was great. And I'm not doing it myself. I actually had a really good friend, Mandy Denkin. She was like, at first she came to me last summer, and she had proposed the idea, hey, let's work on this. And I was like, you know what, Mandy, I think this is going to really make a huge change. And it has. It's taken off like wildfire. And it's good to see that people are embracing it.
I'm presuming though, we can only buy the bags, can we, if we are on the islands, or are they available?
No, I can ship them out. So we have the bags over at the Refund, TCI Refund. So that's where part of the proceeds go to help with conservation, as well as some boutiques on island have taken it. And we also are able to ship out the bags. So I shipped out 2 last week to the UK.
Wow.
So they're taking a life of its own and traveling the globe.
I've got to have one of those.
I'll get one to you.
So Anya, while we're talking about that, would you mind sharing with the listeners exactly how they could find you or go to your website or contact you or buy a bag? Would you just like to share all those details with us, please?
Okay, so the best way to get in contact with us here at Relique would be to first check out our website. You can easily do a simple Google search, type in WILLIQUE, visit our website. Also, there's Instagram, and you can send a message to us through Instagram or Facebook. We're always really active. And yeah, you can even call us. So we have a section where there's WhatsApp business, and you can just send us a message, let us know which bag you'd like. And we also do custom orders.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for that. I can't wait to have mine, showing mine off. I mean, I'm not sure I sent you this question, but it is one that comes up a lot when I speak to people in business. And that is, there are times when they can feel really overwhelmed when they're setting up their own business, because they've kind of just got to be feel like they've got to be doing it all themselves, and there's just so much to think about. And I just wondered if that had happened to you or occurred, you know, when you've been running your business, and also how have you dealt with that?
Yeah, I think for the first 2 years that was me. I was trying to wear all the hats. I was experiencing a lot of burnout. So a lot of people don't talk about that. And it was at one point where I was like, you know what, it's time to bring someone on. It's time to ask for help. It's time to delegate. And I had experienced it, and bringing other people in to help is the best feeling ever, because that allows me to have a bit more clarity to plan, because there's a difference of working in your business and then working on your business. And now I'm at the point where I said, okay, I need help. I'm able to on the business. I'm able to plan. I'm able to design more and focus more on the creative process than being mostly in the admin. And it does kind of help with trying to bring other people on. It's like your baby. You're not sure who's going to watch it. So but you have to trust. You have to have trust, and also make sure that, you know, they're going to help you and see your vision. So they're kind of like the vision carriers for your business. And that is what I needed at the time. And I'm seeing the changes as opposed to me just trying to do everything at once. And it really, really does help.
I really like the way you've explained that, actually, about working on your business rather than working in the business. I think that's absolutely really key, a really key piece of advice, actually, to think about it like that. I think for any of us, it's very easy, isn't it, to be in it. And you know, a lot of people I help is because they're quite often in it, not on it. And then yeah. So I really like that. Thank you for that. So Anya, you've obviously shared about this new project that you're involved in, but I just wondered what else was on the horizon for Relique and the bags, or any expansion that you might have.
Well, so for Relique, I have a showcasing And I'm really getting back into luxury. I think that was my first passion, and I do love good detail, and I do love to be able to create the statement pieces that I created before. So that for Willie, we're going back to the basics, where we're going back to luxury and showing how that can be merged with sustainability. Um, we also just recently got a new studio, and like I said, I have help now, so this is amazing. I have a team, and it's to the point where we actually have, the time to increase our volume, meaning that, there will be enough for everybody, where before it took so much time. And this year is going to be mostly focused on, we were mostly locally based, and now we're getting back internationally. So you'll probably see us more in the UK coming soon.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah, pretty soon.
So does that mean you might come over?
Yes, sooner than you think. Yeah, I'm really excited that the fashion industry is back. So the past 2 years, everything was so quiet, and now we see that brands are back out there, and everybody's kind of enjoying it again. And it shows how clothing and accessories really help people to express themselves and being able. So I was actually asked to create a few pieces for a boutique in London. So I'm gonna head over once that's done, and I have to give you a call.
Definitely.
So you'll see me out there.
I know that the bag I fell in love with, you're going to have to just remind me what it's called and just tell the listeners what it's called, because I think it is still available as a commission, isn't it?
Yes. So it was Wonderless Tote. So it's a huge triangle bag, and I think we had said it fits kind of like a second skin almost. So it's lightweight, it's oversized, it's a statement piece, and you can literally carry everything inside of it. So I've been making it based on commission.
Yeah, it is a wonderful bag. I would encourage people just to go onto Willique's website and take a look. The Wonderless Tote. I mean, it is just a beautiful, beautiful bag. So gosh, so much has happened, and it sounds so exciting, Willique. I mean, the Willique is a brand, but you getting involved in your project on Turks and Caicos, but also the brand sort of expanding, which is what you wanted, wasn't it? To be creative and for people to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. It is. And Tracy, it's been 5 years. I mean, it's to see from where I started with just pen and paper and to see the growth, it's mind-blowing, because it's like, wow, if I didn't take that risk or that leap of faith, I'm still shocked.
So Anya, you obviously are on that beautiful island, the island of Turks and Caicos, but what do you do when you're not head down concentrating on the brand and your business? How does it chill out?
Oh, okay. So yesterday, for example, I've gotten into gardening. I'm part of the TCI Backyard Farmers Gardening Community, and I love to snorkel. So that has been it. Like seeing the beautiful coral underneath the water and snorkeling, that is my thing. On a clear day like today, it's my favorite thing. So that's how I relax. I go to the beach, I hang out with friends. So I live on Grand Turk, which is only about 5 miles, but it's pretty good. This year I went whale watching. I do a lot of cycling. So it's really like a eco island. So yeah.
It sounds absolutely idyllic, I have to say.
Yeah, I love it.
But do you miss the buzz. Will you look forward to coming back to London?
I do. I miss it. I miss the busyness. I actually miss also too, like the clothing, the fashion. I miss a good coffee house. Those are little things that I miss. I also miss the weather. Um, because
Really?
yeah, I miss seeing the seasons and like the turning of the leaves. We have mostly it's mostly summer always here, but we do have kind of like a winter, but it never gets that cold. And I think yeah, like I spent a good bit of years there, 7 years, so I really missed it.
So, what's your vision, Anya, do you think, for the next 5 years?
The next 5 years. So my next step would definitely be setting up a storefront. So I really would like to have a concept store and then focus a lot on production and the message behind it. And it more keeping the brand more established and ensuring that the quality is still there. And I'm going to say this: we are going to be the Louis Vuitton of Turks and Caicos. So that's it's good to dream big. It's something that I can see happening, and it's so wonderful to actually, especially, feel the pride of, say, for example, I just had a billboard go up, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, we're so happy for you," and the community is so excited, and it's wonderful to have your community support your art.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, let's hope. Maybe you'll be the Louis Vuitton of more than Turks and Caicos. You start all of the Bahamas. Yes. Well, it's just so lovely to see your wonderful smiling face and to hear so much about Willick and how it's doing, Anya. And it really, it's a long time for everyone listening, actually, since Anya and I have probably met, and even though this is over Zoom, to actually be face to face. Anya, there's always one question because we're getting to the end, I like to ask my guests, and that is, what is the one piece of advice you would offer anyone thinking about going out on their own, setting up a business?
I would say think long term. Don't give up. Surround yourself with the right team who see your vision. Most times, I think when you set up a business, we don't have an idea or a plan in mind, and being able to have that team, or let's say people around you to support you to see your vision, really helps. And that's what kept me going, because and there were times where it gets lonely, especially as an entrepreneur or as a startup. You're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? But once you have, like I think I talked about the vision carriers, and also think, how can I be of service, or how is my product helping? That makes you feel a little bit more fulfilled. And I think that's what's kept me going, because I've always thought, how can I help someone with what I'm doing? What happiness can I bring to them? And I've been always kind of mapping my journey out to say, okay, this is my next step, and this is my next step. So for anyone out there listening and wanting to set up their own business, it is possible. Pay attention to the details. Find someone amazing like Tracy to help you with that, because sometimes you can have a plan, but you might not know which direction to go. And having someone who's had that experience or worked in a similar field can literally catapult you.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. That's a great piece of advice. I think definitely think long term, and you're right about the details. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be in a creative industry, but it's still the details, you know, business, and you can just sense that someone's really thought about everything, and it just makes such a difference. Well, thank you, Anya. It's been, as I say, an absolute delight. Please come back. I know I say this to so many people, but you in particular, because I think there's going to be quite a lot happening probably this year. And so it would be lovely just to hear how that's going on obviously your sustainability and your project that you've got, but also on bringing, you know, expanding the brand Wileak. So Anya, Wileak, thank you so much for being on my With Tracy podcast today.
Thank you, Tracy. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.